Stop talking about what you're going to do. Stop announcing your plans. Stop sharing your progress. Stop seeking validation for work that isn't finished yet. Be quiet. Work in silence. Build in private. Let your results do all the talking later. Right now, in this moment, the most powerful thing you can do is shut your mouth and open your hands to work. Because every word you speak about your unfinished work is energy stolen from actually finishing it. Every announcement you make is a micro-celebration your brain files away as partial completion. Every bit of validation you receive for your intentions is dopamine you're getting without earning it. And all of that makes you less likely to actually do the work. This isn't about being mysterious. This isn't about playing games. This isn't about some spiritual principle or manifesting nonsense. This is about basic psychology and strategic advantage, about understanding how your brain works and how people operate, about positioning yourself for maximum impact when the work is done. Most people have it completely backward. They announce goals publicly, thinking it creates accountability. They share their journey, thinking it creates support. They talk about their plans, thinking it creates momentum. But what it actually creates is premature satisfaction, unwanted interference, and diluted impact. The people who achieve extraordinary things, the ones who build businesses that change industries, create art that moves millions, transform their lives beyond recognition, they understand something most people don't. Silence now is what creates the conditions for success to speak loudly later. Not silence forever, not hiding your achievements, but strategic silence during the building phase, intentional privacy while the work is being done, complete focus without the distraction of an audience. And then, when the work is finished, when the results are undeniable, when success has actually been achieved, that's when you let it speak. That's when the impact is made. That's when the world sees what you built while they weren't watching. Let me break down exactly why this approach is so powerful and how to actually implement it. First, silence protects your energy from vampires. Not the fictional kind, the real kind. Energy vampires. People who drain your motivation, your focus, your drive through their reactions to your plans. These vampires come in different forms. Some are doubters. They hear your plan and immediately point out why it won't work, all the obstacles, all the reasons you'll fail, all the people who tried and didn't make it. They're not trying to help you avoid failure. They're trying to prevent you from trying, because your attempt makes them uncomfortable. Your ambition highlights their lack of ambition. Your action makes their inaction look like what it is, a choice. Some are dream killers who disguise themselves as realists. I'm just being practical, they say. I don't want you to get hurt. But what they really mean is, please don't succeed and make me look bad for not trying. Some are competitors disguised as friends. They smile and encourage you to your face while secretly hoping you fail. They ask detailed questions about your plans, not to support you, but to find weaknesses they can exploit or to copy what you're doing. Some are well-meaning but distracting. They're genuinely supportive, but their support comes with constant questions, requests for updates, offers of advice you didn't ask for. Their good intentions create interference that slows you down. All of these people drain your energy. Every interaction with them takes mental and emotional resources you need for the actual work. But when you work in silence, you protect yourself from all of them. They can't doubt what they don't know about. They can't kill dreams they haven't heard. They can't compete with plans they're not aware of. They can't interfere with progress they can't see. Your energy stays contained, focused, directed entirely at the work instead of being dissipated through managing other people's reactions. Second, silence prevents premature judgment of incomplete work. Here's what happens when you share work before it's ready. People judge the incomplete version, and their judgment of the incomplete version affects your perception of the complete vision. You have an idea. It's rough. There are gaps, things you haven't figured out yet, but you see the potential. You understand where it's going. You share it, and people respond to what it is now, not what it's going to be. They focus on the gaps, the problems, the unclear parts. They judge it based on its current state, not its potential state. And their judgment seeps into your mind. You start seeing the problems instead of the potential. You start doubting the vision because they can't see it. You start questioning whether it's worth pursuing because their reaction wasn't enthusiastic enough. But if you'd stayed silent, you would have had time to develop the idea, to fill in the gaps, to solve the problems, to bring it to a point where the vision is clear and the execution is strong. The same thing happens with creative work, business ventures, personal transformations, anything that requires time to develop from rough concept to polished reality. When you show people the rough draft, they critique it as if it's supposed to be the final version. When you share your 3-month body transformation progress, they judge it as if you claimed to be done. When you talk about your struggling startup, they write it off as a failure before it has time to find product-market fit. Premature exposure invites premature judgment, and premature judgment kills momentum because you internalize criticism of something that wasn't ready to be criticized yet. Silence protects your work during its vulnerable development phase. It gives you space to refine, improve, and develop without the interference of people judging incomplete work as if it's complete. Third, silence creates powerful contrast. Think about the difference between these two scenarios. Scenario 1. You announce you're starting a business. You post regular updates about your progress. You share every milestone, every challenge, every pivot. People watch the entire journey unfold in real time. After 2 years of watching you struggle, learn, and slowly build, you finally achieve success. People are happy for you.
But the impact is muted because they saw every step. They know how hard it was. They watched you almost quit. The success feels gradual, expected, normal. Scenario 2, you say nothing. You work in complete silence. Same 2 years, same struggles, same learning, same building, but nobody sees it. Then you emerge with a successful business. You reveal what you've built, and the impact is massive because the contrast is shocking. Last time people checked, you were just another person with potential. Now you're someone who's actually achieved something significant. Which scenario creates more impact? Which generates more respect? Which makes people take you more seriously? The second one. Always the second one. Because humans are wired to respond to contrast. We're impressed by transformation. We're moved by before and after stories where the journey is compressed and the result is dramatic. But when we see the entire gradual process, when we witness every small step, the transformation loses its power. It becomes incremental, expected, less impressive. Working in public makes your progress visible, which feels good in the moment because you get encouragement along the way, but it reduces the impact of your final result. Working in silence makes your progress invisible, which feels uncomfortable because you don't get validation along the way, but it maximizes the impact of your final result because the contrast between where you were and where you end up is undeniable. Silence creates space for that contrast, for that dramatic reveal, for that moment where people's perception of you shifts instantly because they only see the before and after, not the messy middle. Fourth, silence forces you to develop internal motivation. When you work publicly, you get external validation along the way. People like your posts, they comment encouragement, they tell you you're doing great, and that feels good. Really good. Your brain releases dopamine. You feel motivated. You feel supported. But here's the problem. You're training yourself to be motivated by external validation instead of internal drive. You're building a dependence on other people's reactions to keep you going. What happens when the external validation stops? When people get tired of your updates? When the likes and comments slow down? When nobody's paying attention anymore? You lose motivation because your fuel was external, not internal. And external fuel is unreliable. It comes and goes based on other people's interest, which you can't control. But when you work in silence, you can't rely on external validation. There is none. Nobody's watching. Nobody's cheering. Nobody's giving you encouragement. You have to find motivation somewhere else, and that somewhere else is internal. It comes from your commitment to the goal, your desire to prove something to yourself, your personal standards, your self-respect. You're forced to develop the ability to keep going when nobody's watching, to push through when there's no applause, to stay committed when there's no external accountability. And that ability, to be internally motivated, is what separates people who achieve long-term success from people who flame out when the initial excitement fades. Silence is the training ground for internal motivation. It strips away all external sources of fuel and forces you to find the fuel within yourself. And once you've developed that, once you've proven you can keep going without an audience, you become unstoppable. Because you're no longer dependent on circumstances or other people. Your drive is yours, unshakable, internal, permanent. Fifth, silence eliminates the performance pressure. When you work publicly, you create an audience, and once you have an audience, you start performing for them instead of just doing the work. You become conscious of how things look, whether you're living up to expectations, what people think about your progress, whether you're impressive enough. This performance pressure affects your work in subtle but significant ways. You start making decisions based on what will look good rather than what will work best. You choose paths that are more impressive to talk about rather than paths that are more likely to succeed. You become afraid to pivot because you've publicly committed to a direction, and changing course would look like failure or indecision. You feel pressure to show constant progress, even when sometimes the smart move is to pause, reflect, and recalibrate. You avoid experiments that might fail because failure in front of an audience feels shameful. All of this performance pressure makes your work worse. It adds constraints that have nothing to do with actually achieving your goal and everything to do with managing your image. But when you work in silence, there's no audience, no performance, no pressure to look good or meet expectations or appear consistent. You're free to make decisions purely based on what will work, to pivot without explanation, to pause without judgment, to experiment without fear of public failure. You're optimizing for results, not for appearance. And that optimization difference, making choices for effectiveness rather than impression, massively increases your chances of success. Silence removes the performance pressure and lets you focus purely on doing what works. Sixth, silence allows you to fail privately. Failure is part of any significant achievement. You're going to try things that don't work, make mistakes, hit dead ends, go down wrong paths. That's not a character flaw. It's the process. It's how you learn what works by discovering what doesn't. But when you're working publicly, every failure is visible, every mistake is documented, every wrong turn is witnessed. And that visibility makes failure more painful, because now you're not just failing, you're failing in front of people. You're giving them evidence that maybe you're not as capable as you presented. You're validating the doubters who said it wouldn't work. The pain of public failure often makes people quit prematurely, not because the goal became impossible, because the embarrassment of visible failure became unbearable. But when you work in silence, you fail privately. You try something, it doesn't work. You adjust and try something else. Nobody's knows, nobody's watching, nobody's giving you encouragement. You have to find motivation somewhere else, and that somewhere else is internal. It comes from your commitment to the goal, your desire to prove something to yourself, your personal standards, your self-respect. You're forced to develop the ability to keep going when nobody's watching, to push through when there's no applause, to stay committed when there's no external accountability. And that ability, to be internally motivated, is what separates people who achieve long-term success from people who flame out when the initial excitement fades. Silence is the training ground for internal motivation. It strips away all external sources of fuel and forces you to find the fuel within yourself. And once you've developed that, once you've proven you can keep going without an audience, you become unstoppable.
because you're no longer dependent on circumstances or other people. Your drive is yours, unshakable, internal, permanent.
More willing to experiment, more willing to push boundaries, and that willingness dramatically increases your chances of finding what works. Silence gives you permission to fail as many times as necessary without the crushing weight of public judgment. Seventh, silence prevents people from stealing your ideas. Not everyone who hears your plans is cheering for you. Some are taking notes. They hear what you're planning to do. They see an opportunity. They have more resources, more connections, more experience, and they take your idea and execute it before you do, or while you do, but faster and better. You told them the problem you identified, the solution you're building, the market you're targeting, the approach you're taking, and they use that information to compete with you or even beat you to market. This happens more often than people want to admit. Ideas have value, strategies have value, insights have value, and when you share them freely, you give away that value to people who might use it against you. But ideas are worthless without execution, people say, and that's partially true. But information still matters. Knowing what problem to solve, what approach to take, what market to target, that's valuable strategic information. When you work in silence, your ideas stay protected, your strategy stays private, your competitive advantage stays hidden until you're ready to reveal it with a finished product or achieved result. By the time people see what you've done, it's too late for them to beat you to it. You've already done it. The idea is no longer just an idea, it's a reality. And reality is much harder to compete with than concepts. Silence protects your intellectual property during the vulnerable planning and building phase. Now, let me give you the practical framework for working in silence. Rule 1. Tell no one except essential collaborators. If you're building something alone, tell literally no one. Not friends, not family, not mentors. No one. If you need collaborators, a business partner, a team member, a specific expert, tell only those people, the absolute minimum number of people who need to know for the work to get done. Everyone else gets vague answers, working on some projects, keeping busy, focusing on personal development. No details, no explanations, no elaboration. Just enough information to redirect the conversation without revealing what you're actually doing. Rule 2. Document everything privately. Just because you're not sharing publicly doesn't mean you shouldn't track your progress. Keep a private journal. Document your process. Record your lessons. Capture your journey. This serves multiple purposes. It gives you an outlet for the desire to share. It creates a record you can reference later. It allows you to see your own progress even when nobody else sees it. But keep it completely private, password protected, for your eyes only. Rule 3. Set a specific reveal condition. You're not staying silent forever. You're staying silent until a specific condition is met. Define that condition clearly. What has to be true for you to break the silence? Maybe it's when the business is profitable, when the book is published, when the transformation is complete, when you've hit a specific milestone. Whatever it is, define it, write it down, make it clear. And until that condition is met, you stay silent, you keep working, you keep building. But knowing there's an end to the silence makes it easier to maintain. You're not committing to permanent secrecy, just strategic silence until you have results worth revealing. Rule 4. Prepare for the discomfort. Working in silence is uncomfortable. Humans are social creatures. We want to share. We want connection. We want validation. Fighting those urges creates discomfort. You'll feel pressure to tell someone, pressure to share your progress, pressure to get validation. Expect this. Know it's coming. Prepare for it mentally. When the urge hits, remind yourself why you're working in silence. Remind yourself that this discomfort is temporary, but the benefits of silence are permanent. The discomfort doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're doing something most people can't do, and that's exactly why it's powerful. Rule 5. Plan your reveal. When you hit your reveal condition, don't just blurt out what you've done. Plan the reveal for maximum impact. Think about how you want people to find out, what story you want to tell, what message you want to send. Maybe it's a simple post showing the before and after. Maybe it's a launch event. Maybe it's just living your transformed life and letting people notice and ask. Whatever it is, make it intentional, because you've earned the right to a powerful reveal through your silent work. Don't waste that impact with a thoughtless announcement. Now, let me tell you what actually happens when you work in silence and let success speak later. In the beginning, it feels weird. People ask what you're up to. You give vague answers. They push for details. You deflect. It feels evasive, uncomfortable, like you're being secretive for no reason. But you push through. You stay committed to the silence. You keep working. After a few weeks, people stop asking. They accept your vague answers. They stop pushing for details. They move on to other topics, and you move deeper into your work. After a few months, you notice changes. Your focus is sharper because you're not managing other people's reactions. Your progress is faster because you're not wasting time explaining and defending. Your confidence is building because you're proving to yourself that you can work without external validation. The work itself starts to be the reward. The progress you're making, even though nobody sees it, feels satisfying because you see it. You know what you're building, and that's enough. After 6 months to a year, you hit your reveal condition. The business is profitable, the book is published, the transformation is complete, the goal is achieved. And now it's time to break the silence, time to let success speak. You reveal what you've built, and the impact is massive. People are shocked because they had no idea. The contrast between the last time they knew what you were doing and what you've now accomplished is dramatic. You get more respect than if you'd shared the journey publicly, because the result speaks for itself, because they can see you're not all talk, you're someone who actually does things, because the silence followed by achievement carries more weight than constant updates followed by moderate success. And here's what's interesting. The people who doubted you, who would have discouraged you if they'd known what you were doing, they can't say anything now, because the result is undeniable. The success is real. There's nothing to doubt anymore. The people who might have stolen your idea, they missed their chance. You've already done it. They're too late. The people who would have been energy vampires, they never got the chance to drain you. You protected yourself by staying silent. And you've proven something crucial to yourself, that you can work without an audience, that you can stay motivated without external validation, that you can build something significant through focused, silent effort. That proof changes everything, because now you know if you can do it once, you can do it again. Silence now, success later isn't just a strategy, it's a repeatable process. So here's what I want you to do. Identify the most important thing you're working on, the goal that matters, the project that could change your life, and make a decision today. I'm going to work on this in complete silence until I have results worth showing. Tell no one except essential collaborators. Document privately. Set your reveal condition. Prepare for the discomfort. Plan your reveal. And then work in silence, in private, in focused isolation. While everyone else is talking about what they're going to do, you're actually doing it. While everyone else is seeking validation for their intentions, you're building something real. While everyone else is performing for an audience, you're optimizing for results. And when you're done, when you've achieved what you set out to achieve, you won't need to announce it. You won't need to convince anyone. You won't need to prove anything. Your success will speak loudly, clearly, undeniably, and it will speak with more power than all your words ever could have. Silence now, success later will speak. That's the path. That's the strategy. That's how you build something real while everyone else is just talking. Be quiet, work hard, let your results do all the talking. Starting now.